Hello, my lovely listeners. How are you feeling? I feel like I am in a bubble, as if I am just not moving really, as if I am in a pause. And it's something I know it will pass, but I just found myself in it in the beginning of this month, and I'm waiting for this to go, and it's not fully comfortable, but also it's not uncomfortable. So I am wondering where you are and what's happening with your energy this May, when the big planet Uranus changed its position from a really steady and quite not moving Taurus to a crazy and ever-changing Gemini, and it means that things are supposed to be changing, moving forward, but I guess you need a break before moving forward. If you have been running for a long time, if you have been ticking things off the list or anticipating something, and then it all happened, and also you need a break to recharge before you start changing and maybe becoming someone else. I don't know what's happening to me and with me. I just know that I can see the signs. One of them is I'm just reading this book called The City and Its Uncertain Walls by Murakami. Is a Japanese author, and I really like his books, but they also leave me often with like a piece of, like a missing piece. And this one, I'm pretty sure it's about depression, and it's about where you go when you feel like you cannot go anymore, like you are like you are depressed, but in the sense of like you've lost yourself. And it talks about the person and the person's shadow and how they should be together. And the shadow there doesn't mean that it's a negative part or it's a part that needs to be nurtured or fixed. It's just a very important part of a person, and if they get disconnected, that means that the shadow dies and the person is not fully themselves. At least that's how I understand this book. I wonder how you understand it. But reading this book and reading about the city and its uncertain walls is actually represented in sort of in my life at the moment. I'm sitting in this garden that is kind of looks like a kind of very, very long, kind of like a kidney with walls around it, and it's very magical inside. I keep coming back to this garden a lot, and it's just like that, as if I was suspended in this garden, and just time went really slow. In the same time it went quick. I feel like things that usually brought me joy or I was really fixated about, they are not as much at the moment, and I am definitely feeling as if I was changing and something in me was changing. I just don't know what it is, and I am becoming a different person, and I've learned not to be afraid of that, to let it flow and to let it go, because it doesn't matter if you try to stop it, it doesn't matter if you try to withhold it or pause it, it's gonna happen anyway. So that's how every cell in our body is dying every day, and we becoming a new person totally as a flesh every 7 years. And that's what has to happen with spirit and the soul almost as well, meaning it comes from another dimension or level of or understanding to another one, and it happens over and over again. And sometimes there are long periods between, and sometimes they are not so long. And I guess I just need to surrender to that and just understand that it always comes back and resurfaces in a calm manner, and is needed for my own development and is needed for my own highest good, I guess, and that's why I am on this earth. And again, it's very odd and strange, and also especially because I am here all by myself, and I am kind of living for the last couple of days or a week in this sort of solitude, but also surrounded by people, and it's scary at all as well. And it's like now you can probably hear people around me in the garden, so it's kind of odd and scary, but in the same time I can feel it's needed. Every day I can sense more it's needed, and I'm trying to go back to my old ways, how I deal with things, and obviously they do help, like being in nature, obviously being in this garden, swimming and going on a bike and eating really nourishing food and meditating and walking and just observing the world around me. But I guess I am not who I used to be even a couple of days ago. I guess I am changing, and a little bit of a sadness comes here as well with that. Also with feeling the time in me, feeling the time in my body as kind of going on and on and on. So, and I know in the book when people were feeling like this, and this was like I guess the highest depression as can be, they got lost and they just remained in this town with ever moving walls, and the town didn't want to let people out, or it was even difficult to get in, but it was really difficult to get out. And there were those unicorns that were dying for people, because people there didn't die, they were just like doing and going around their businesses, but in a like sort of a sleeping way. There was no emotions, that's what I meant. There was no emotions. I haven't finished reading the book, and I am worried, or I'm thinking, what if it ends and not give me the answer that I wanted? And the answer that I want is everything's going to be okay. Basically, that's what I always want. Everything always works out in a way that is good for me and those around me. I am sitting on this bench, and next to the bench there's lots of birds and trees and skipping around, and there are some pillars and fountains of water, and then behind one of the pillars is a dead pigeon, a beautiful dead pigeon, very well fed and very healthy. It's just dead, and all of this, the living nature, the people basking in the sun, me being kind of suspended, staying in the bench, and this dead pigeon is like, it's life. It's life. And I don't really know what else to say about it. I'm trying to bring it to some meaning. All I know is just I am suspended at the moment. I am walking and breathing and listening and eating, but there is this kind of suspension that I believe was needed, and I believe will finish and end at some point. But being in it is like a little bit being in a dream, and I got a little bit or a lot dissociated from my body a few times as well, just as if I was kind of floating around and feeling and being in the body, but also not being there, and being surprised that I do have this body So I don't know if you've ever felt this way. I don't think I've ever spoken to anyone who'd feel that way. It's very scary at times. I have never spoken to anyone, and I try to describe it, but it's hard to describe it in a way. And sometimes I am scared that maybe it's like some sort of a weird mental state that is not really required. But then I think that's fine. It's just who I am. I always had it, and I understand it. I understand it in a way that it's just part of me. That's how it happens. So I guess I just leave it here. Usually when I speak, it brings me some sort of answer, and I didn't think this was going to give me any answer, because this state is quite heavy, actually. Heavy meaning quite deep on many levels, but in the same time I know it will go away, or it will transform into something else. So while being there and taking a break, I want to enjoy it, and I want to just flow with this. So thanks so much for listening, and if you have, for the whole episode, I really appreciate. I really wonder what's your state at the moment, and what are your reflections like that. Wherever you are, don't be scared. Just flow with it, and you definitely will change and go on the other way. I guess different and stronger.